Welcome to Nintendo Ninja News. I'm your host, Chris Tices, and we are here to talk about Trovo, the new streaming service, or the rebadged streaming service that used to be called Mad Cat by Tencent, the massive company organization that has their fingers in the pies of nearly everything in the video game world. Now, let's have a little look at Trovo, the streaming service, just to see what it's like. Now, if you're wondering from the front page, yes, they've literally copied and pasted Twitch onto their own website. It's extremely familiar in terms of the look of it. Instead of bits, they use spells, and not all the features are up and running because it's in a beta form. Obviously, you look at the recommended numbers, the numbers are much lower than it is on Twitch, seeming that it's a new service. Now, you may be wondering what the Tencent company has. Now, they're pretty much like the tentacruel of the industry. And no, this is not a very friendly Pokemon. So, they own 100% stake in Riot Games League of Legends. They have an 84 stake in Supercell, Clash of Clans, Clash Royale, Brawl Stars. I have a 48% stake, or could be 40% stake, I'm not too sure about that, in Epic Games, which owns Fortnite. So that's another huge one. They have a 10% stake in Bluehole, PUBG, and developed PUBG Mobile. They have a 5% stake in Activision Blizzard, which controls Call of Duty and World of Warcraft and Overwatch. And they do have a Call of Duty mobile game in a soft launch at the moment. They also have an 80% stake in Grinding Gears games, Path of Exile. I also have a 5% stake in Ubisoft, which, controls and has the IPs of Far Cry, Assassin's Creed, and all things Tom Clancy. So I'm just reading this from here. They're also partnered up with Take-Two, who does GTA and Red Dead Redemption, to release NBA games in China. So their own games is Honor of Kings, which is Arena of Valor. It's the world's most played game that, no one seems to know about. That is correct by looking at this Reddit page here. It has over 200 million monthly active users. So they also act as the gatekeeper for anyone who wants to do gaming, and this is why I think the Pokemon company is doing Pokemon Unite, which is like, it's like a co-op game. It's like Smite and League of Legends or something like that. And they'll be releasing that game down the track. And because they're the gatekeepers, they basically have to work with them. And they make fairly good games out of it. They've had obviously success with that. Now, there's a good article here which I think I will probably post. It's in the japantimes.co.jp here as we keep looking at the website here. So the Tencent, which is the Chinese firm that owns WeChat as well, and QQ, they facilitate Chinese government's censorship and surveillance. And it's definitely been increasing from inside and outside of China. Just reading word for word here. During the last month alone, several events has illustrated the trend in Tencent's close relationship with the Chinese authorities. March the 2nd, Dutch hacker Victor Gries revealed that the content of millions of conversations on Tencent applications among users at internet cafes are being relayed along with the users' identities to police stations across China. Just 3 days later, the company's founder and chief executive, Pony Ma, took his seat among 3,000 delegates to the National People's Congress, the country's rubber stamp parliament. As they say, there's no opposition, so basically they're just rubber stamping anything that they want to do. Reportedly raised the issue of data privacy, even as security agencies were using data from his own company's applications to root out unauthorized religious activities. Now, this is all related to, people may not know, concentration camps, a certain ethnic religious groups that they've been holding prison for very, very long time that China has been doing. Obviously, the Chinese government has denied that any of it is taking place, where there's pretty sufficient evidence online that it is. Tencent has been around since 1998, and WeChat has been, it's got now 1 billion active daily users. The company has been forced since its inception to comply with strict Chinese Communist Party information controls. So it's sort of like they don't have like Facebook and normal social media in China. They have WeChat, which is basically watched over by the government. So let's come back to my adoring face. So what does it mean for La Trove, or Trove, whatever you want to call it, the streaming platform? Now, they are throwing $30 million to the, top 500 streamers. And with Mixer going down and the way that the streaming world is, I'm a small streamer myself. And yes, there is a seduction that Tencent is trying to do to people. With, here's $30 million. This is a very small platform. You saw that the highest dude, who was, on the recommended page, only had 41 people watching him. And you're thinking, man, I've got a chance to do this. And you look at some of the data and the charts that they've got on this website. And, if you get 4,000 watch time hours, you can get to this gold or masterclass. You can get a payout of $4,000 from this $30 million, which is quite a lot. Now, a lot of small streamers do struggle. Like, they struggle for PC parts. They don't have all the fancy stuff that other streamers do. They struggle on Twitch because it's so saturated. Mixer users are being dumped because the service is closing. They don't like Facebook. Most people sleep on YouTube, or the monetization level is too high for them to achieve. So something like Trove is this seductive website where they can go to and go, well, there's not many people on the platform. It's slowly growing. I can have instant success and start making money because the bar is so low. And I think that would be a terrible thing, especially with all the stuff that I've talked about Tencent, because this is, like, I know that people give shit to E3 and Activision and Ubisoft, and so they should. But this is a company on a whole other level of terribleness that they're doing. They're working with the Chinese Communist government. And normally we don't get too much into politics. I am into my politics, but obviously, also too, that your data will most likely be looked at by whoever will have access to Tencent's, servers and things like that. Will they be kept in China and some other places? And that's also an issue too to look at as well. And I generally, if I was a small streamer, and I am, it would be very seductive. I could bring my streaming show over to this website and maybe potentially make some money, because I already have 10 to 15 people that watch me per stream. I could go there and immediately jump onto the recommended page and do really well. But I know that who owns it and what the company's behind and what they've done, and you have to think about your morals and principles. Now, for some small streamers, they won't care. They're just there to find a bit of money and to finally find that success that they've been chasing for years and years in this rat race of, making videos and streaming. I've seen a couple videos on YouTube saying, oh, off I go to this new streaming service, without really thinking about stuff. I saw one streamer's video that he was talking about moving over there because he's dissatisfied with Twitch and not finding success. But I think small streamers really need to have a good look at themselves, because it's not the platform. No, I can understand not being discovered on Twitch and how hard it is to get monetized on YouTube. Took me 5 years to get there, so I know how hard it is. But also to that, a lot of small streamers don't look at their own stuff. I looked at this guy, and he rambled on for 20 minutes, and that was way too long for a video like that. And he didn't really seem to talk about his own streams. So I looked at his own streams on Twitch, and they just seemed vanilla and boring, and his game selection was not great. And I think a lot of streamers, they tend to blame the platform, but not really look at themselves and go, what can I do to make the streams better? And sometimes you don't need to go out and buy nice equipment. Like, I've got a nice microphone and a laptop and a new TV here, as a second screen and for streaming games. But, that took me years to get to that point, saving up a little bit from the Patreon and for things like that. It took years of growth to get to that point. And I think for small streamers, they have difficulties with that. So, and they are seduced by this idea of going to a new website and finding success. So the streamers need to look at themselves and really do a full investigation into how they do the streams and their game selection and why it's not working. So you can't blame the platform. Like, I could say, oh, it's YouTube's fault. And sometimes, there is some truth in that, in terms of not being discovered as well. The algorithm is not that great for live videos. But I also know, too, that the main bulk of the work has to come from you in trying to improve the streams. Normally, I do that every few months. I look at my streams and go, how do I improve stuff? And it's always, being tweaked and improved on, with getting a Stream Deck and the new TV and getting the PS4, the Nintendo 64, all these additional things, and, all the scenes and stuff like that, and getting monetized has helped a bit out too. So that's another thing to look at as well. So Tencent is really like the tentacle of the industry, and they're not friendly, and they're not for you. Like, if you think that they're going to care about the small streams and do something different, I doubt it, because once they have the people that they want, the bigger streamers that might come in, they'll look after them and not really the smaller streamers. So it's going to be a problem for people. So don't be seduced to small streamers by this new service. I don't think it'll be very successful. And yes, the bar is low to be partnered, but even I think that Facebook gaming is too low. 100 followers is really nothing. You can really easily get that number. If you can't find 100 people to follow your page, then you have to really learn about networking in that, because like a lot of people just think, if I just stream video games, then the crowds will come in. But unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. You do have to stand out and offer something a little different from what others can, or some sort of value. So that's something for people to look at too. So there's a lot of questions for small streamers. Will you work on yourself and improve your content, or will you be seduced by a new platform and go over there hoping that you'll hit it big, but your data's in breach, you're supporting a Chinese communist government? All these really moral and ethnic decisions that small streamers have to make. Is it really worth it? Are you going to sell your soul for that type of thing? So I will keep watch on the streaming service and see how this goes. But I'll be staying on YouTube, as much as it would be easy for me to jump into that recommended side and stream Nintendo games and sort of break into it. I don't think that I will be doing that. So that is it for me, and I shall see you next time.